Hi everyone, it's Andy from Hobby Headquarters. Today we're going to be building another one of the super heavy paper panzers from Trumpeter. This is the 35th scale Jagdpanzer E100, and it's the stablemate or proposed stablemate of the E100 that you may have watched me build about a week ago now. And what the main difference obviously is you can see on this one did not have a turret at all. This one was going to be more reminiscent of the Jagdpanzer, so it had a superstructure, very sloped armor, very thick as well, as much as 8 inches thick on it. And with that slope would have been very difficult to knock out. They also had proposed to put a 170 millimeter gun on this vehicle, which meant that it could really reach out and touch you. So estimations were about 4 kilometers. It could knock out most tanks of the time on it. So really would have been a beast to encounter on the battlefield. Now, nickname-wise, I was just kind of looking this up before I got on camera here, and I've heard it called the crocodile, and the side of the box here calls it the salamander. So, but I've noticed a lot more of them call it the crocodile on the internet. Now, once again, this is all just a proposed thing. They actually only started building one chassis for the E100 period, but there have just been talks to do all this other type of stuff. But by 44, they just decided to move on to other things, and where it was just taking up so much time and resources. But I just thought this would be an excellent companion to go along with our E100 and the mouse kit that's also coming out from TACOM. Just be some really great to have some real massive vehicles. The weight on this vehicle is supposed to be about 140 tons, so I'm assuming this one would have been 140 plus tons with all this extra armor, the ridiculously massive gun, and pretty much everything else from the lower hull down is all the same stuff on the two kits. In fact, I was looking over the instructions before I started on it, and the first 10 steps are identical on these two kits. Enough talking, let's get started on it. Well, before we get started on the build, I wanted to do a little kind of like show and tell with you guys. I remember probably a couple months ago I showed you this was an original piece of World War II Panther track off of a late vehicle with the ice cleats right here. Massive piece of track, very heavy to lift. But after showing you that, I wanted to show you guys something new that we just got into the store here to show you. And this is it right here. This is an actual piece of World War II Tiger track, and it is even more massive than this Panther track, as you can see. And I'll kind of flip it over here. You can see right off the top that it's a early piece of track, so it doesn't have any of the ice cleats here. Massive piece. So it's off of an early Tiger, and just a beast to try to haul around. So kind of flip it over here without breaking my fingers on it. Kind of show you guys what it looks like right here. Now, unfortunately, there's no track pin in it, but you get the general idea how the track pin worked on this one right here. So, I'm actually thinking about doing a workout video later on too, if the whole modeling thing doesn't work out, just lifting Tiger tracks or Panther tracks, because you get one heck of a workout lifting these up. And I really feel for the crew that had to lift those up onto the side of the vehicle, especially like on a Tiger or Panther when you're lifting something this heavy up above your head. So kind of just give you a once over one more time on it, kind of let you see what it looked like. And now let's get back to the build. Okay, as you can see here, I've got all of the parts for the lower hull sanded and ready to go. I assembled the two-part wheels together. I've got a little bit more sanding to do on a few of these here, getting the parting lines out. Those were a little bit large on some of those. But you basically have two types of wheel, an A and B wheel, one with the hub sticking way out, one with it recessed in. And go quickly over this portion of the build just because it's very similar to the E100 that we just did. In fact, it's identical. So it's just a matter of gluing this piece of support in and then going down the line and gluing the springs systems in. Now, as I told you on the other video, the glue point is just these two little pegs right here, but I would also recommend go ahead and putting a little bit of glue on the face here, and that's going to keep this piece from rocking out, and especially under the weight of the vehicle. So keep it nice and tight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and glue all these pieces on, as well as the housing for the drive sprocket here, and then we'll also glue on the backs of the other pieces over here. So we'll go ahead and take care of all that right now. Okay, as you can see how quickly the lower hull goes together. It actually took longer to sand all the pieces than it did to actually assemble them. Now, keep in mind too, we've left all the road wheels, and for that matter, loose, and we've just placed them, just popped them onto place right here for doing the basic painting. They fit actually fairly tight. You can knock them off if you need to, but this is just going to make it much easier later on to pull these off and paint all of this the metal color that it needed to be, because it was didn't have rubber on it. It was just a steel wheel. So just keep that in mind as you go forward. Now, like I did on the other kit, we unfortunately still have these tracks, which are not absolutely terrible, and on the other kit they actually looked okay because they're mostly hidden by the the side skirts, and the detail on the front looks okay, especially after you weather it up. Now I've told you, like in the other one, I have the Fruel model tracks on order. I still haven't been able to get them for this or the other E100 kit. So as kind of like a placeholder, we're gonna go ahead and just assemble these, pop them into place. Did a little experimenting too. Since this was a newer kit, thought maybe that the glue would work on it. Glue didn't work on these as well. So we're going to do the same old thing of just melting them together and putting a staple into it. And like I showed you on the other kit, you can see that the side skirt covers the entire top, so you don't have to worry about any of the sag or anything like that. And the quality is okay. It's not bad at all. One thing I do like about this kit quite a bit, though, is the ease of construction. And there's only just over a little over 100 parts on the entire kit, which makes it really good for any type of modeler, from a detail modeler who wants to put all kinds of aftermarket stuff onto it, to someone who just plays World of Tanks and wants a nice display piece, because this is a really cool tank on it, and just wants to build it, paint it up, and put it on their desk as a display. All this area needs to be sanded more, so that's why we're not going to glue this into place yet, but this is how that stacked method works to make this really look like it's a really thick piece of steel. Done a little bit more sanding on those big thick spots in the back, and once you get all that in, you'll notice that the whole thing just kind of clicks right into place there. So I've taken the outer road wheels off for now, just temporarily. And then we've got the big pieces next that will include putting on the gun, and as well as the rest of the engine deck. Now, I've been working on the gun for quite a little bit of time right now, because there's a lot of double-sided pieces that require the seam to be taken out. Now this, I didn't worry too much about the seam because this is actually going to be inside, but I've been working on this on the barrel for a very long time. Still not 100% there, but when you have a seam all the way down the middle, it makes it a little bit difficult to make sure, because you don't want to get any flat spot on the barrel as well. And then the way this all just plugs together, kind of in a unusual way they do that, and this will get glued in here, but this way you'll still be able to move the barrel around inside there, and then you have all these other pieces that go on. So I will start the rest of the assembly of the barrel, which I have all the other pieces all cut out and sanded right now too. So we'll go ahead and put those parts together right now. Real fast too, I thought I would just kind of show you the assembly of the barrel. Because I still have quite a bit more sanding to do on it, I won't actually put any glue on it yet. But you can see the multiple pieces that go into this. And that sleeve's going to slide on there. Finally this piece. And then the last piece will be the barrel sliding right inside. Actually, I take that back. This is actually going to go right here. That gets glued onto that, and then it'll fit right in here. So you can see we're going to have quite a large barrel on this gun. So because I have so much more work to do, I'm going to spend the next maybe half an hour to an hour. We'll see how it goes. See if we can get most of this seam out of here pretty well. I tried looking for the metal barrel that was available from RB. I used to carry them all the time too, but they're kind of tough to get a hold of right now, so I haven't been able to find one of those. But we'll go ahead and work through this and get the sanding done on it and see how it comes together. And just a few parts on the engine deck, but they also do give you all of the photo etch panels that we will just glue into place right here. And to do that, you need to have super glue. And I find that using it with a real fine tip, that you can just put the smallest little dab of glue in each corner is plenty enough to hold it down. So I'll go ahead and glue the rest of these little pieces on, get the photo etch into place, and come back and show you what it looks like. Well, here we are. We're kind of getting close to the end of the construction process. And just a few things I'll just point out to you. All the photo etch and all that stuff went on fine. All the little grab handles, things like that. Now, I've started to do some sanding. When you glue this back panel on right here, half of this weld seam is on the back, half's on the front, so therefore you have a pretty good sized seam down the middle of it. And I've started to correct it, but I'll show you kind of what on the other side. Oh, and this barrel's not glued in yet. I just kind of left it in to show you size-wise. But what we've done over here is I've taken a little bit of liquid cement and kind of filled this area in here and let it soften the plastic for maybe 3-4 minutes. And then just taking either an X-Acto knife, or I was actually using my pair of sharp bent tweezers, start dragging it across the front here after you do a little sanding, and you'll start to get rid of that parting seam down the middle. Now, parting seam up here and down here, we'll just have to just keep continuously sanding out. Now, as for the side skirt, as I told you in the last time, trying to put them on individually was kind of a giant pain, get all these parts to line up properly. So what I did was I went and glued these together separately, added a little bit of extra bracing just to make sure that we keep it nice and straight while it's drying. But trying it out again, I just went and cut these little nubs right off the side here. They're not really necessary, and when you take them away, the side skirt just pops right into place. And we'll glue, there's still plenty of meat to glue it onto. Just a lot easier as a little building tip to you. Rather than trying to line those pieces up separately, you can take a long time and then still not get it perfectly right. So I think if you glue them all together like this and cut those off, it'll save you quite a bit of time. Other than that, the construction process was very easy and very similar to the other E100 that we did a while ago. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish up the rest of the side skirts, get those glued on, and then we'll come back and show you what it looks like. Wanted to really quickly show you too a quick way to get this to be really sturdy on the side. Now, I never glued the upper and lower hull together. What I've done is I started gluing just the front portion of this piece to get it really straight and lined up just the way it's supposed to. Then after that set up for a little while, we took a little super glue and ran a bead of it down the inside here and used a little zip kicker to strengthen that part. So this is really secure up front. Now with that in place, now we can go and start working slowly from the front to the back and get this perfectly lined up. That way we don't have any spots or any gaps, and then we can do the rest of our sanding once we get it into place. Well, here we go. Here is the completed construction. Now, I went ahead and spray painted the entire thing black to start doing our black and white coat, and it was mainly to check to see if I had any flaws. I started off doing the barrel, which I think I'm going to probably leave this way, which I saw one on the internet that I kind of liked, where it had the gray color from the barrel just the way they would have sent it from the factory, but they had left the muzzle brake and this part back here in the red oxide primer, as if it was just something that hadn't even had a chance to be painted yet. I also painted a couple of the road wheels red oxide, and we'll keep those, maybe put them on. I'm going to see how they look. If not, I'll go back and paint it body color. A couple other things I'll point out to you too. This kit right here has much thicker photo etch on the back, and some people sometimes cringe when they hear thicker photo etch, but on this kit it actually made it work better. And sometimes when the photo etch is too thin for grills, they have a tendency to want to curl and cup, and it's harder to lay down. The little bit of a thicker photo etch, especially when you're using flat pieces, lays down much smoother and it doesn't want to bind up on you. I'll just kind of give you a little 360. Now, I actually painted this in regular, just flat black, and if you can believe that, I've had a little bit of trouble getting the NATO black from my distributor lately, and I was actually out of it. And now it'll be in a day or two, but I didn't want to hold up the video any longer, just waiting for NATO black. The flat black will still work fine on it. And we're going to do the white all around it and then paint it our body color. Now, like I said, I also do have the tracks on order from Full Model to change those out once they finally come in. But these will suffice for right now, just for this portion of the build. So now that all that's done, let's go ahead and start painting the white. I've completed the white on there now. Now we're going to paint the entire model the base color. And instead of using the regular dark yellow, because this is supposed to be a later war vehicle, so the dark yellow was a little bit lighter in tone, had a little bit different look from what I've seen pictures of. So what I did was, just to change it slightly, we used 60% dark yellow, 30% buff, and then 10% white to just lighten it down a little bit. And we come up with a color that we're going to paint the entire model with right now. Okay, kind of show you what I've done so far. We finished up obviously the camouflage pattern, and I took the outer road wheels, and hopefully you can see it with the way the light's reflecting. I took each one of them off and weathered the outside hub with a bare metal type finish, and I'll put a little bit in the tracks, but after we're done weathering the tracks. And I started weathering just some of the outer road wheels, but I'll show you the weathering technique on the main body that I used on those. We also installed the barrel. Now it's very clean obviously right now, but we used the red oxide primer here, and then just the basic gray barrel color as it would have come from the factory. Kind of give you a little 360 of the whole vehicle. And now after the paint all dried, I sprayed the entire thing with, on this particular model, just Tester's dull coat, because I had a can available, just to seal in all the paint job. And now with that sealed in, we can go ahead and start putting the decals on. There's only a couple of decals on this, and then we'll seal them again with the lacquer, and then we can start our weathering. Real fast, I just thought I would give you the steps I do for putting on decals. I always first put on a little bit of the Tamiya Mark Fit Strong. Put on a little coat underneath there, followed by the decal, and then followed up by just lightly putting a little bit on top. And then you can go back and straighten out the decal to make sure it's straight on the vehicle. And then just taking a cotton swab, you're going to want to just take it and just blot off any of the excess. And then after that dries for probably about, let's say 4 to 5 minutes, just taking the same cotton swab, just go over it and burnish it down, and that really makes the decal adhere very, very well to the side of the vehicle. And then, like I said, after that's all set up, we're going to clear coat it again. And that way, if your decals are sandwiched between lacquer clear coat, they won't dry out and pop off later on in life. Start our chipping process using a real fine brush and then our chipping color. Put some random scratches. And as you can see, the scratch, the rather large scratch that I'm putting in right here first, what we did is I used a little bit of a lighter color of the base coat and scratched across that. And then we used our chipping color to go around. You can see how it really gives a dimensional effect to your scratches when you're doing that. And you just play around with it, you know, putting little chips here and there. So I'm going to finish up the rest of the vehicle right now, finish scratching. I'm not going to go too crazy, and we'll come back and start doing the washes and pigments. Okay, even though I'm going to eventually change the tracks out later on, I decided I'm going to go ahead and weather these up. And we're going to use our Tamiya panel line, the brown one. And we're just going to kind of fill these areas in, getting a nice wet coat. And you can put it on kind of thick. Don't worry about it, you know, staining anything, because it's actually very, very loose fluid, so it's going to kind of drain into all the little areas. And then using our light sienna from Vallejo, using the same type of brush, we can just go in and start packing it into all the little nooks and crannies on the front of the track. And as I've told you many times on this kind of stuff, it's going to dry a different color than what you see right now. It's really, really nice once it dries on the vehicle. So I'm going to finish putting this stuff on. We're going to come back in maybe about 10 minutes. I'll be able to show you exactly how dry it is and how the tone changes. So come back in a few minutes and show you what it looks like. And here you go. Here you can see the finish once the pigment has dried. And all I'm going to do now is just lightly go over it with the edge of a pencil to make the ice cleats kind of pop out a little bit. Trying to get this. And it just gives a little bit of a mellow color on some of these areas. And I'll keep working on that a little bit, but you get the general idea of what it's going to look like once the track has the pigment and the wash put on it. And now that the chipping process is done, we're going to take a big wide brush, and we're just going to do a little dry brushing with the same chipping color, especially over all these areas that have the cut steel. You can really see how it makes them really start to pop out. And even on the green color, you'll start to see some of the lines. Now I'm going to do a little bit more of this dry brushing over other parts of the vehicle. Not too crazy on it, but you really see how it makes all of that stuff pop right out. So we'll go ahead and finish that up and come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, we're going to do a little streaking on the vehicle. So I'm just putting down a little enamel thinner. because that's what the Tamiya product that we're using is actually made of. And you can just use your panel liner and just put a few little areas here and there, and then you can just kind of just blend it all together, and especially into all the little nooks and crannies, like between the panels here. Here I'm using a little streaking grime, also with the enamel thinner, to kind of blend down and get some nice light streaks going on. Now this does take a little bit of time in a process of actually blending it all together. So it goes on kind of thick, but after working it with the enamel thinner, you really will get a nice effect with it. Well, here we go. Here's our completed model. And I have to say, I actually had a really good time building this kit. It went together really well. No problems with fit. The tracks, I know I complained a little bit about them, you know, having a problem with that, but so much of the track is hidden by this side skirt. And I do have the other metal tracks that I will put on, because they are going to be a little bit more detailed than these. But honestly, for the average modeler, these actually look pretty good right on there, who just want something that, you know, that's going to be a nice shelf display piece. If you're going to do something real fancy like a diorama or anything, you might want to go ahead and get the other tracks. But yeah, very, very nice kit. In fact, it went together so smoothly. My original plan was I was going to start this model for a few days working on it, and then when the tack-on mouse came in, put this aside and start working on the mouse. But it went together so quickly and so easily, I actually got 90% of the kit done before the mouse showed up, so I just decided to just go ahead and finish it off. Now, one other thing that I'll point out to you too that I did that it didn't show on camera was I did put the coat of buff over the entire model, and that's to give it the dust coat to kind of, you know, soften all the harsh colors sometimes. So that is it. I want to thank you guys as always for watching, and if you get a chance and you enjoyed the video, please subscribe.